Good morning.
Hi.
I love your outfit. Very on brand.
What?
Your outfit, I love it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. It, it's
Yeah, wow. Amazing.
yeah, yeah. Other people might be coming on to talk, might not. I don't know. It's been kind of, but I wanted to get to meet and can share stuff in the group if nobody else does come. But
Okay.
yeah,
What's the event?
it's a promotional thing for my book in my publisher's Facebook group.
Cool.
Yeah, I got published last year with a new cover and
Yeah, I bought a couple of copies of the audiobook for my family and stuff.
yeah, thank you.
They have all been enjoying it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still listening to the audiobook. It's just kind of strange because it's like it's not me reading it, but I feel like my mom said stage fright when we were listening to it, and I get all nervous sometimes. Just
You put a lot of work into it.
yeah, it took a couple years to get the audio.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's a huge, huge project.
Yeah, but it's been fun. But yeah, um, it just so. Have you read the whole book or?
Yes, I did my time on it when you sent through the I don't know if I've read what I read was the like final draft because I read it while I was still recording.
Yeah, yeah,
I haven't listened to the audiobook and like the other voices and stuff, which is so it's still a little bit like
yeah, yeah.
hard to
Neither of us
imagine.
have actually.
I should
Thing.
I think it'll be good to sort of like have a different idea of what the other characters sound like and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see if anybody else is there. No. So, so getting published, getting the audiobook done. It's been an interesting year, the last year. And
That's a huge undertaking. I will be right back in like 1 minute. Just gonna check something.
okay.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, so have you done other historical books, or what is the
Good
kind
question.
of genre you usually do?
Um, not that I can think of. I've been doing a fair few audiobooks in the last couple of years, but a lot of them have been like new Australian works. Um, and then I just got done doing like a fantasy um novel for as part of like a series where I play a pirate captain, getting to be the villain this time from um so it's sort of like semi-historical, and I've done a few things like that, but it's like not actual like yours. It doesn't, it's not real world kind
Yeah,
of
my book is based
yeah.
on real history, but with a bit of a different take on a lot of stuff compared to how a lot of people tell the same story. Just based on my research, and I've written
Yeah,
I've written the next 5 books, or next 4 books already in the series of 6.
it's amazing. That's so exciting. The sort of like semi-magical element of it,
Yeah,
that come from sorry, in a
the
second.
sort of hypnotism and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a different part of the story, and uh, what's sorry. Yeah, hypnotism and the whole
Yeah.
underside of the story that most people gloss over or don't know about, but I've gotten to by reading the non-English sources, stuff that's not really published in English. But Fritz,
Yeah.
what was your character? I've read, translated a whole volume of his actual diary, so I've learned
All right.
German a lot and stuff to read. At least I can speak some.
Hmm.
Yeah, but that's a huge part of my story, and just telling his side of the story. A lot of books are told more from Vicky's side,
Yeah.
and I wanted to show his side more.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. That
But yeah, I've
yeah, I wonder whether like how much of sorry, I'm trying to work out exactly what I was trying to ask. Like around the hypnotism stuff, and was that something Fritz wrote about, or that like he was genuinely afraid of, or
it's kind of cryptically written. It's
hmm.
what I get out of stuff, but I keep getting to in various different people's stuff, but different researchers interpret different ways, but it was how I read it, and I just, in my research, where I just keep trying to sort things out and fit the story together different ways till I find something that everything makes sense in context. Then if it's weird things that where
Yeah.
the hypnotism part of it, where people are programmed to brainwashed to believe strange things, but we're figure out a story where it all fits together in context, and just a
Hmm.
different. Well, that is part of the different interpretation I do of the
I
story.
mean, look, I mean, a lot of the work I do nowadays is around like people, dealing with and overcoming their trauma, and
Yeah,
um
yeah, and lots of big
like
stuff that'll be
regardless of what you believe about hypnotism or brainwashing or whatever, like abuse like has a very similar effect,
Yeah.
and you know, like
Well,
that's what I got out of that part of the story, whether it's literal or metaphorical, is like that these people were being deeply, deeply traumatized and manipulated by
yeah, and
um
that's a huge
the villain. What's
part
it?
of
Uncle Karl.
yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be a huge part of the ongoing story. Is the story of overcoming that.
yeah,
Like
yeah. Of course.
one of the girls slips a baby at the end of this book will become my secondary heroine, and
Yeah, right.
she's her journey has been amazing to learn about. And it's all Vicky and Fritz's story stays
Mm.
the main part, but Louise and Lutz, Marianne, another cousins in Berlin. Just
Mm.
it was a baby at the end of this book. Just her part of the story is very interesting, but she's the granddaughter of Charles, the bad guy.
Yeah, right. Of
Yeah,
course.
so yeah, that part of the story is hard to write sometimes, but her story is
Mm.
really good. But yeah, and
Right.
but yeah,
Fascinating how
so
all of the little threads get tangled up, huh?
yeah, I've written the next 4 books in the series already, so written all
Mm.
the way to quite a ways ahead in the story. The
You know what?
last book I'm kind of stalling on because it's a hard part emotionally.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
But
finishing something is always the hardest part, I think. Like,
yeah, but it's always just been the hardest part of the story for me.
um,
But yeah, I had a question about audio, just how to interpret something in audio where
mm-hmm.
a character loses his voice and has to communicate in writing and stuff. But how do you
Yeah, right.
portray that in audio and have the emotional impact of the character not being able to speak?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I actually did I narrated a book last year which had a character in that position, like exactly that position. You know, she was one of the love interests in the book, and throughout the first like 85-90% of the book, she never speaks, but she does write notes. And it's a difficult one to get across in audio, obviously.
Yeah.
And part of it is, you know, like there's some faith that has to happen in terms of suspension of disbelief on the part of the listener, but it should be supported by the writing, right? Like if if they hear the narrator say, she passed me a note, and then hear the character's voice, like it's pretty natural to interpret that that was just like it was what was written in the note.
Yeah.
But certainly in that version, I'm not exactly sure what I'd recommend, because you know you're doing the version of audiobook narration where you have multiple voices voicing all the different characters, etc. And in that book, I was narrating and playing all of the characters,
Yeah.
and so for that, I read her voice more like the main character's voice. So it was somewhere in between the two,
Yeah.
because it was like him reading the note, right? And
Or
you can
like
only
when
read in your
they're
own voice.
yeah,
Um,
like the narration.
but like what he imagined her voice would be like. And then when she speaks at the end, and it's like this different echo of that, much lighter, and you know, especially because she hadn't spoken for many, many years, like it
Yeah.
it was like that character could barely get her voice out even when she did. And yeah, there's like there are little tricks you can play with to try and get that effect. And like that's probably something to think about, is which character actually reads the note. right? And do you want it in the character's voice, like the one reading the note, or in the voice of the person who wrote the note?
Yeah.
And that it'll probably take some experimenting to find what you prefer.
Yeah. And spoiler for people that don't know the history, it
Yeah.
is Fritz is who.
I had a feeling it would be. He's a sensitive
Yeah,
boy, Fritz.
yeah, it's that part of the stuff in the last book is
Mm.
the end of his life and stuff. Well, it's the hardest part of the story for me, but yeah, I'll have other characters. Look, I have something that's just an ongoing theme in stuff that I'm reading and researching, where the different people whose voice is very similar, and people got them mixed up and stuff. So yeah, don't be characters with the same voice, which makes it fun.
Yeah, because in like even in this book, from my memory, there was a fair amount of like letters between characters, and you had us narrate any of the letters that the characters wrote rather than the ones they were reading. And I think that for the most part makes sense.
Yeah,
People will interpret that.
unless it says the other character's reading it aloud or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think like it's okay to trust an audience to understand that
Yeah.
when they hear
And I'll have like 5 characters that I want
it.
to do eventually. So like a couple
Yeah,
of
no,
others that have
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to revisit Fritz. Is a
like
lovely character. I said I'm excited to revisit that character when the time comes. He-
the Vicky and Fritz's son when he grows up, and a couple other characters too. So
Hmm. I'm also interested to see like how he grows as an adult. You know, like so much of this book was like getting a feel for him as a young man
yeah,
and
yeah. The
coming into himself.
second book is more like the next part of the story is more of the political struggle, but a big journey for him, and the first
Yeah.
time he goes to war and stuff. The
Yeah.
third
Right.
is more of the abuse and stuff, the story of the girls that are the Charles, the bad guy,
Mm.
granddaughters, and what happens with them, and them trying to help them. The fourth book is like the growing up years for the older of the
The-
children,
yeah.
and then the fifth is continuation of that, and then the
Mm.
sixth is Fritz's illness and death and what comes after. So yeah, just
Mm.
a summary of
Yeah, I can see why like it would be very challenging,
yeah.
especially when you've written 5 books worth of characters to like feel their deaths.
And
I
it's
can imagine
just
it's very feels very personal.
I've researched them for so long, and even before I started writing, I just always had very much an emotional attachment, reaction, whatever.
Just got a like a notification sound thingy, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure
I
what it
had
is.
a comment on something in the group. So.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But yeah, I can share this in the group.
Yeah, oh, it sounds good. I've got another like 5 or 6 minutes if there's anything else you wanted to talk about. What sort of timeline is there for you on the other books in terms of their like publishing and release? Like not the audiobooks necessarily, but I know those take time, but
Yeah. Book 2 probably later this year. The first one came out in May last year, so but got a bit to do still. Just
yeah, of course.
working on editing, making sure it's ready, and taking a pause from writing the last few months and going into research mode again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just when I wrote book 4, I got to the wedding of one of Vicky's brothers, but I just realized I don't know much about him. I know more about the other siblings and very little about this one, so I'm reading about that branch of the family now. It is
Yeah,
a
right.
branch of the family I had read a lot about, just not the couple when they first get married. One of Queen Victoria's children, the second son that was in the Navy, but also the heir for the German line of the family. So just what research I'm doing right now the last few months since I'm taking a pause from writing. But getting into more evidence of the hypnotism stuff and other things
Yeah, right.
more plainly stated. So it was what I needed to know next. And also it'll be the first time I update one of the books. How I said when I wrote book 4, I felt like I didn't know enough. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And that's good to have that much like time ahead of you as well, because like as you research stuff for the final book, I imagine there'll be bits that you want to fill in that way.
yeah,
It was a lot of fun for me, like exploring more of that accent as well. Like
yeah.
German
I
is
enjoy, yeah, the girl.
like it's a difficult accent as far as for a romantic lead, like in general. Like the natural instinct for like leaning into a German accent is like it's very easy to go into a very stern German accent, and
Yeah,
um to find the lightness and in that
yeah,
for Fritz was really interesting as well, and
yeah,
that romantic angle on it.
yeah. But yeah, I've gotten some feedback from the girl who did Vicky and
Hmm.
my female characters
Hmm.
has listened and said she liked how you did Fritz.
Oh, that's very sweet to hear. I look forward to listening to it in for myself so that I can have
And
a better ear for the characters next time.
yeah, and what was the other thing? Yeah, she was the first person I worked with on the project, and
Mm,
she just got so into the story. We finished her part of the recording right when I finished writing book 2, and I
right.
gave it to her, gave book 2 to her to read, and she said she was busy and didn't know how long it would take her, but she read it in like a week. And
It's always that way. Once you start, you can't stop.
when I had my cousin be my beta reader when she
Mm,
was busy when I was doing book 2, and it was really hard to do with no beta reader.
yeah, of course.
Huge amount of learning how to do the political and wartime part and
Hmm.
stuff. And then book 3, I asked Ella, that's who my other audio actor,
Yeah.
to
Oh, well, I'm glad.
be my beta
'Cause
reader.
I mean, like it is like a very compelling story. Like reading it when I was reading through the draft you gave me, like I didn't want to stop reading. Like it's got that very Moorish quality to
Yeah, thank you.
it. All right, I better duck off. I've got another meeting in a moment, but it was nice to catch
Share
up.
it with him the group. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank you. Yeah, she wanted to be able to be here but was busy, and another of my cast also, but it didn't turn out. So
That's
was
all right. Well, I'm
happy
glad I
to
could
be
drop
there.
in.
So I didn't not get to have any of the people who said they
Yeah,
would be able to.
no
Thank
worries.
you.
Thanks, love. All right. Farewell.
Bye. So that was Jamie Collette, who is the voice of Fritz in my audiobook and the narrator for his point of view. And I hope you will enjoy our discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope to hear more from you. Hope you take the time to watch this and Thank you for participating in the group and the commenting on the posts. So I hope you've enjoyed my author takeover.